Hello, if you have been struggling to get your freelance writing career off the ground, if you're trying to figure out what you need to do to become a content marketing writer, that's what we're talking about today. So I have some steps and I have some cool, important things that we need to do, and I will give you some freebies too along the way. So let's get started on some cool stuff. Just as like a quick overview, if this is, your first foray into freelance writing, I've been a freelance writer for the last 10 years. I'm going to give you some of the steps that I have used to build my six-figure business and the steps that I used over the years to kind of build the structure into my business and the little framework that I needed to grow and scale and kind of get away from clients that were asking for one-offs. Hey, Vesna, welcome in. And get everything together. Oi. Ahoy would be nice. Ahoy would be nice. All right, so let's talk about this. Let's talk about setting up your business. Hey, Vicky, I'm glad you're here. It's nice to see you. We'll do a pup date in a little bit too, because I know sometimes when I'm doing this, people ask for pup dates before I actually do them, so we'll do a little pup date in a little bit. So let's talk about setting up your business. So when you're becoming a freelance writer or a content marketing writer, there's a few things we need to do. And then we'll talk about getting our first client. So when you're setting up your business, you need to make sure that you understand the foundations of how people find you as a freelance writer. So this is something that my students get stuck on sometimes, and I was stuck on it for a while. You don't have to worry about your website first thing. Yes, it would be ideal that you already have your website set up. It would be ideal that you already did LinkedIn. But the deal is, hey, Marie, welcome in. Glad you're here. So the deal is that the bare minimum is LinkedIn. You got to have LinkedIn up because that's how we connect with a lot of our clients, and we need somewhere to send them. So in a day and age where basically anyone can create a website, anyone can create anything, we have to look legit if we're starting out, right? We're starting our business. We have to look legit. And one of the best ways to do that is to get a LinkedIn profile. Yes, people create fake LinkedIn profiles. That happens, but it would be pretty rare that you as a writer would create a LinkedIn profile and then start marketing to people to work with them as like a fake person. That just wouldn't happen. So our bare minimum when setting up our business is we need a LinkedIn profile so we have some place to send people. Even if you don't have clips, even if you don't have a ton of writing experience, even if you're starting from zero, we at least need to set up somewhere where clients can go to learn about you, your services, who you work with, what it's like to work with you. And if you have clips, that's a bonus. You put them in the featured section on LinkedIn. But yeah, Marie said, yeah, the stuff, it was stuff, but Mandy helped get me on track. Good. I'm glad. I know I've got a few students in here that are hanging out. So thanks so much, guys, for popping in on a Friday. So we at least need just something. Oh, and I need my little numbers. Gosh, I always forget these. So number one, we have to have a LinkedIn profile. We have to have something to send people to. So the deal is that we want to look legit and we want to attract the right clients. And the way to do this is to have that LinkedIn profile set up so when people visit it, when we send our LOIs, our letters of introduction, LOIs, our pitches, they know that they're the right client for us. Or when they find our, why are you raking everything over there, buddy? When they find our stuff, they see that, okay, they write about travel or they write about SaaS. Don't bother her. Or they write about fintech, or they write about ag tech, or they write about law tech. There's all these different things that we need to have in our profile. So let's talk about that. And I'm going to link to this below. So I'm going to put a link below of the questions your LinkedIn profile and your website need to answer. That will be in the description below. Hey, Annie, welcome, team. Yeah, I like that we have our little live stream team. Hi, buddy. You're going to have to go hang out over there. I know, you're a little antsy-pantsy today. Minnie's all nice and snuggled. Hey, good girl. All right, buddy, why don't you go lay down? I know, you're having a day. Oh, don't lay on Minnie. All right, we're just having a day. All right, so the deal is that your LinkedIn profile, I'm going to put those in the description of questions your LinkedIn profile needs to answer because I have a whole video on it and I don't want to go through that on here just because I feel like there's a lot more important things to talk about. So our LinkedIn profile, we need a tagline that says that we are a freelance writer. Ideally, that it says freelance content marketing writer and then your niches. We need a photo where we're smiling and we look like we're inviting people to our profile. I always kind of think of it as like a little hobbit hole. Like I know I joke about them having their hobbit hole over there, But I always say, like, this is your little hobbit hole. You have a mini hobbit door, and your picture on your LinkedIn profile is like your little hobbit entrance. Hello, welcome. Like, it should be interesting. It should be fun. It should be something where someone sees your photo on LinkedIn and they're like, yes, that's who I need to talk to. They look pleasant. They look fun to work with, or they look interesting, or they look happy. They look like they're enjoying stuff. That's really important. Then that header box at the top, right? That big image behind your profile image, use that as a way to share more information. Your niches, your website URL if you have it, your email so they can get in touch. And hello. And anything else in there that you think is really important, like your niches, your contact information, like your email and your website are super important. That you are a freelance content marketing writer is important. All that stuff needs to be at the top. And then you're going to fill out your about and your experience section. So if you don't have any clips yet, you don't have any clients, don't worry about it. What we're going to do in these sections is explain who we work for and how we help them, how we're solving problems with our content, what types of content we work on, and the types of things that we can help with, the types of results that we can help people get, right? So all of these things we can talk about without having had clients yet. This is totally fine because there is a way to help people, right? We know how to help them. We can figure it out, right? We know that when someone wants a blog post, they're doing their blog post because they want more website traffic, or they want to help with their SEO performance, or they want to get people to their website to download something or to get more sales. Like, we know they're creating a piece of content for a specific reason. So when we're writing our LinkedIn stuff, and I said, like I said, I'll put the questions in the description. Like, I'll put the video for the questions to answer below. But we are giving them a presence. So when you're starting your business, right, when you're becoming a content marketing writer, in order to get your first client, you need to have a place where that client can go, where they're like, oh, they write blog posts, they do case studies, they do white papers. And I need that stuff. I need help with that. Oh, and they understand that I need a case study as a prop tech client because it helps show potential clients that these are stories that could be theirs. They could be these clients that we've helped. They could be our next success story, that kind of stuff. So these are really important. It's really important to have some place. And I like LinkedIn because I do a lot of marketing on there, and I find that that's the best place to get started. And then we can build out the website later. The next part about starting your business is don't worry so much about all of the business ticky-tacky stuff. So I've had students, I've had Freelance Writer Wealth Lab students and one-on-one coaching students create an LLC before they start their business because they're just kind of nervous about it, and that's fine. I didn't create an LLC until many years into my business. So you can create one. You don't have to. You would just use your social security number instead of an EIN. And once you create your LLC, you use an EIN. But don't get stuck on that kind of stuff. There's a lot of ticky-tacky things that we expand upon as we go along in our business, right? There's a lot of things. Why do you step on her? She does. You're just driving her nuts. Okay. All right. Lay down, buddy. Lay down, buddy. There you go. Good job. All right, Minnie, can you go back to your hobbit hole? I know, he stepped on you. How rude. How rude. How rude. Let's just do a quick update since they're there. Oh, we only have one on screen. Classic. Always only have one on screen. They just can't sit close enough together unless they're sitting on each other. All right, buddy. Ready? 1, 2, 3, dog. Good job. Minnie, high five. Good job. Ooh, sorry, Minnie. That was my fault. That was my fault. All right, buddy. Ready, buddy? 1, 2, 3, dog. So close. So close. High five. Good girl. High five. Good girl. All right. We did our quick pup date, except only half of us are on the screen. If only you guys could just be on the screen at the same time. There we go. We got everybody on the screen at the same time. All right, everybody gets a treat for being on the screen at the same time. All right, buddy, ready? You're so close. High five. Good girl. Other one. Other one. Other one. Good job. Close enough. Cool. All right, so let's keep going. So our LinkedIn profile is the bare minimum of setting up our business. 2, don't worry about an LLC to get your first client. You don't have to rush to set everything up. If you feel really nervous about it, if you are feeling like you need an LLC to feel like you need to move forward in your business, I like Northwest Registered Agent. That's how I set up my LLC. And you need a registered agent anyways for your LLC. So it's just kind of natural to fold it right in there. So if you go to Northwest Registered Agent, you can set up your LLC. It's super easy. And then they basically like act as your registered agent, meaning they collect papers or notify you of things or do a bunch of other random things, but it's not critical. So the other thing you need to do to set up your business is you need to have your payment system business software situation kind of at some basic level. So when you're setting up your business, in order to get your first client, right? If you get a client, how are you going to invoice them? How are you going to send a contract? How are you going to get paid? Like, how does that work? Well, that's what we're going to do. The registered agent thing is state-based. Okay, so you may or may not need a registered agent. Here in Texas, we need a registered agent. And also there's different fees. I know that I have some students in California and other places where they have to pay different fees for their LLC. Forming an LLC costs different amounts depending on the state you live in. So another story there. When you're setting up your business, when I started, I had FreshBooks, but they added too many things that were too complicated for my business. So I moved to Harvest. So if you're first starting out as a freelance writer, use Harvest. It helps you invoice. It helps you track your client stuff. If you want to track your hours, you can do that. It's very basic kind of client management and invoicing tools. And then you can hook it up to like Stripe and PayPal and all this stuff that helps you get paid. I like Stripe personally because with Stripe, if you allow them to just do bank-to-bank payments, you only pay a maximum of $5. Where if you're using PayPal, then someone pays with a credit card, then you get crazy fees for it. So with Stripe, you can do credit card or bank payments, but if you just select bank payments for Stripe, then you end up paying very low fees, which is a big plus. So when we're starting things up, I think Harvest is your best option. It's really easy to send an invoice. It's really easy to get paid. It's really easy to manage all your stuff. As you move along, this is something that I recommend to my Freelance Writer Wealth Lab students and my one-on-one coaching students is Dubsado. 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 This is the entire way that I run my business now. So that means that it is my invoicing, my project management, how I make appointments, how I get paid. So I have Stripe that connects to Dubsado. I have all of my contract templates, all of my proposal templates, all my invoice templates. Everything that I need is in Dubsado. I don't have, like, I got rid of so many other tools when I started using Dubsado. It also helps me track all my business financials, my expenses, helps me pull stuff for taxes. My to-do list is in there. It tracks like how much revenue, like, you know, like my percentage of revenue going in and out, whatever. Or not in and out, but coming in. And so that is a more complicated tool, and it's kind of like a little mini monster beast. Like if you're starting out, Dubsado is an investment. Like you have to invest both time and money. So Dubsado is free for the first 3 projects that you have in there. So if you want to start with Dubsado just to get warmed up and you want to use that, it's free up to 3 clients or 3 projects. And then it's $350 a year. I also have an affiliate code for Dubsado that gives you 20% off your first year or your first month. So I'll drop that in the description. But I think for just basic getting started, Harvest is your best option so that you can get paid when you're setting things up. So let's move on to the next thing that we're doing to start our business. And that is, I have to cough. Hold on. Ooh, okay. And that is, we did invoicing, we did setting it up, we did contracts. So the best way to get started with contracts, because you need a contract for every single client that you work with. So you can create this contract. This is what I used to do when I started. I would create it in a Word doc or a Google doc. Then I would upload that to HelloSign. You can use DocuSign if you want, but you upload it there and then you get electronic signatures, so it's binding. Now that I use Dubsado, all of my stuff is signed in there. Like all of my electronic signatures and all my contracts and proposals are sent through Dubsado. But if you don't want to invest in Dubsado and you're just getting started, make your contract in Google Docs or whatever, download it, upload it to HelloSign, DocuSign, whatever your favorite e-signature program is, because you want to make sure you get a legally binding signature. Upload it there, get it signed, and that's good. And then store it somewhere safe. We want to make sure that we have some way to bind ourselves together, right? We have some way to say like, hey, we are agreeing to work together. Here's the work we're going to do. Here is what it is. Here's how we're going to get paid. And if any legal stuff happens, here's how to do that. And I forgot about this till now, but I have a bundle. So if you need contracts, if you need proposal templates, if you need marketing templates, you can go to mandyanellis.com/bundle. This is where I give you all of my stuff. So it has my current contract templates, my current marketing that I use for LinkedIn, my LOI templates. So it's all of my good juicy stuff that I use for marketing and setting up everything for clients. So if you go there, mandyanellis.com/bundle, you can get it. All right, let's move along. Oh, and I have a free pricing guide. So if you're starting out, this is the next thing that we're going to talk about. But if you're starting out and you're like, I don't know how to charge for anything, like let alone invoicing or setting up my business, like I don't know what to charge. This is my free pricing guide. If you go to mandyanellis.com/pricing guide, this is like, I give you all the different type of projects. I'm actually about to update it too. And every time I update it, I send it out to everybody who's on my email list. And this is a good way to get my email list. So the deal is that I'm giving you all the different project types in there, and it helps you kind of figure out where you are. There's also like some directions of how to use it if you're kind of like confused about the ballpark ranges, but free pricing guide. Cool. All right, let's keep going. So let's talk about pricing. So once you have your contracts set up, you have some kind of way, right? You have everything, like your systems are set up, right? Your contracts, your invoices, setting up your business on LinkedIn, becoming a legit member of the freelance writing community, right? We need to figure out how to price stuff. That's why I have my free pricing guide, because I have found that the questions I get most of the time are like, what do you charge for this? Or how would you price that? Or what did you charge for this in the past? So I made this pricing guide as a freebie just because I feel like it's helping all of us raise our prices. And I had a note, I got an email just the other day from someone, and I told them, like, they were kind of nervous about raising their prices. And I was like, I've only known one writer in the last 10 years, one writer who grossly overcharged for their services. One in 10 years. Everybody else undercharges. Like, the probability that a freelance writer would overcharge someone is really low, because freelance writers are often not aware of the value that they're bringing to a client, or the value of their content, or how much experience and knowledge they really have, or the quality of their writing. So they often undercharge. So I made this pricing guide so you don't undercharge anymore. We're not going to overcharge, but it's giving you ballpark ranges. So you kind of have to figure out what your ballpark ranges are. What are your floor prices? What are the numbers that you feel good about with the work you're going to do? So what is your ballpark range for a 500 to 700 word blog post? What's your ballpark range for an 800 to 1,000 word reported article? What's your ballpark range for a 3 to 5 page case study? All that stuff. And like I said, that's in the pricing guide. So if you get the pricing guide, it's here, mandyanellis.com/pricing guide. And when you get the pricing guide, you get attached to my weekly emails where you get tips and tricks. So in addition to this live stream, I send a weekly email with fast tips and tricks. Like, this live stream lets me expand, but I send a weekly email with tips and tricks, and you get those for free when you get the guide. So I think that's what we want. So we want to set up our LinkedIn. We want to make sure we set up our business in terms of setting up our systems. So invoicing, contracts, and figure out pricing. So all of those things need to go together to set up our business. That's our first phase. Then we're going to figure out how we're going to get our first client. So that's our second part. So let's move on there. Boop. And we'll do a quick pup date. Everybody's licking or sleeping or, hi, Barry. Barry's like, I heard the Treato bag. All right, Betty. Ready? 1, 2, 3, dog. Good job. High five. Good girl. Other one. Good job. Oh my gosh. You guys are doing great today. There we go. Now we can actually see you, Minnie. All right, buddy, ready? 1, 2, 3, dog. Good job. High five. Other one. Good job. All right. Everybody, you guys are doing great today. Everybody's doing great. All right, let's talk about number 2. So let's talk about, got dog drool all over me. Let's talk about when we are putting our business together in terms of sending our marketing. So this is our next phase, right? This is how we start getting our first client in addition to LinkedIn. So we set up our LinkedIn and we've answered all the questions that I dropped below, right? Those videos below that talk about the questions that your LinkedIn profile needs to answer. We've done that. That's starting our attraction thing. So the LinkedIn is starting the possibility of people being able to find us on LinkedIn or find our LinkedIn profile by Googling things, because LinkedIn has strong SEO. So your profile can come up. And that's starting it. And it's okay to make your LinkedIn aspirational. It's okay to say, like, I work on case studies, even though you haven't done a case study. What you do need to do is learn how to do a case study before you actually do one. Don't say you're going to do a case study and then like not learn about it and then kind of like do a shitty case study. You need to learn about the types of content that you're going to provide for someone before you actually do it. So when I say make your LinkedIn aspirational, it's okay if you haven't done that type of content yet, but you need to learn how to do it. You need to know how to do it in order to offer it. But it's okay in aspirational terms to say, like, I haven't done it yet, but I know how to do it. Or for me, you find a relational piece of content. So for example, you say, like, I haven't done a case study, but I've done a ton of reported articles. I'm familiar with interviewing, and case studies and reported articles are very similar in how, questions you ask or how you kind of think about them and put the puzzle together, in my mind at least. So the next thing is marketing. This is our outbound. So if LinkedIn is our inbound, it's how people find us. LOIs and our marketing, outbound. So our letters of introduction, our LOIs, we're going to send these out. We're going to make our list. So when you're trying to get your first client, you're going to be sending 50 to 75 LOIs per month to get those clients, okay? So I know it sounds like a lot, but as you move along, it'll get quicker and quicker. So for me, I'll just give you an example. I think the first LOI that I ever wrote or ever sent took me either a week or 2 weeks or a month, something in there. It took me a long time to get my LOI all together. My first reported article took me a month to put together too. And now I can send like 25 LOIs in a day. It's not hard to do when you have a template. And that's why we have the bundle. So the bundle has all the LOI templates. So if you're trying to figure out your marketing, you can go to mandyellis.com and get the bundle. And the bundle has my LOI templates. But the point of our marketing here with our LOIs is I always think of it as a drive-through. So you're basically getting in there being like, hi, do you need help with your content? I'm qualified. Here's my past clients, or here's the niches I work in, or here's how I can help you. Here's a link to my LinkedIn profile and or website and or testimonials, depending on how far you are in your freelance writing journey. Like if you're coming from corporate and you have like 20 years of experience and now you're freelancing, different story. Or if you're starting from scratch and you have no clips, at least you have your LinkedIn. And that's kind of it. We're not using our LOI to oversell people. We're not using our LOI. Ready? Good job. Ready, buddy? 1, 2, 3, dog. Good job. We're not using our LOI to like overly sell people on like, you need a blog post because da 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 da. Because I used to do this and it was such a waste of time. Not only was it a literal waste of time of me coming up with ideas or thinking about how to pitch my services or convince people to hire me. The deal was, if someone did answer, which was rare because these LOIs were like 2 pages long, they would end up saying like, that's nice, but we actually need help with this. Or that's nice, we actually need help with that. Because you don't know. You're making a lot of assumptions by trying to pitch a service to someone. You don't know you don't know what they need. You don't work at that company. So although they may be creating blog posts, they might be really struggling with creating downloadables like ebooks and guides. Or although you notice they have a bunch of white papers, they're really struggling to get more case studies. You just don't know. So with your LOI and your marketing, you're just driving by. You're just drive through. Hey, do you need help? Cool. I'm here to help. I'm qualified. I'm in your niche. I know how to help you. Here's my LinkedIn. Goodbye. That's it. That's how we end up sending 50 to 75 a month, is like they're templatized. We make them personality driven. So you make a template that sounds like you. So if you get the bundle that I was talking about, take my examples and make them sound like you. Personality driven templates work. Okay. So then you take your personality driven templates and you use them to send out your LOIs. So like, who are we sending these to? Now that we have our templates, who are we sending these to? In order to get your first client, you need to know where you're going, right? So you need to pick some direction. And for me, I had to pick niches. And I think that that's the direction that most writers need, because I have found there's a big difference. So people that start out as generalists, as freelance writers, either have a lot of experience writing in a bunch of areas, like they worked in a newspaper and they have a ton of experience in a bunch of different areas, so they can be a generalist because they already have a bunch of experience, or they come up with a ton of ideas. I couldn't come up with ideas when I started out. I was not good at that. I didn't get it. I didn't know how to come up with an idea. It just like was beyond me at the time. So picking my niches gave me direction in what types of clients to reach out to. So think about where your experience, your background knowledge, your expertise, and what you really like to write about, and who has money combine. So those things need to combine. So for example, when I started, I wrote a lot in food and travel because I had a lot of experience. I was really lucky when I was a kid, or when I was younger, to travel a lot. My family traveled a bunch, so I knew a lot about traveling. I had been to a lot of different places. I had eaten a lot of different types of food. I was really interested in like not only like recipes, but food culture, food history, all this stuff. And so I knew that I needed to target those types of clients. So that means you need to make a list. Now, in your list, you need to have at least, those 50 to 75 companies. You need to have a list of companies to work off of so you can send your LOIs quicker. Those companies need to have money in order to hire you. So that means if you have startups on your list, they need to make at least 3 million. And if you have regular companies, they need at least 5 to 50 million in revenue. And that gap is so big because some companies spend a lot on marketing. So they allocate a lot of their budget for marketing. So they only need 5 million in revenue because most of that goes to marketing. And other companies wait a really long time to allocate more to marketing. So they need like 50 million. So while you're making your list, I have found that having a niche, having some like 3 to 5 niches is the way to go. So you at least have some direction. You're not handcuffed to them forever. Your niches are not forever. And for me, like I said, I started in food and travel, and now I write about hospitality tech, restaurants, real estate, prop tech, insurance, insurtech, health tech, sometimes dogs, sometimes these guys. Sometimes I write about pets. They're over there making noise. But the deal is that those niches expand over time. So you are just picking direction just to get your first client. You're picking a general idea of like, is this niche? Like the niche that I'm thinking about, the types of clients in there, let's say that SaaS or FinTech or Ag Tech, there are thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions of clients that I could reach out to. Like when I Google Ag Tech companies or when I Google SaaS companies, I see huge piles of lists of potential companies. So that's always really important to know. So when we're doing our marketing, we create our list. We refine that list by saying who has money, who has at least as a startup, if they have 3 million, or a regular company has 5 to 50 million. Then once they have money, we go to LinkedIn and we send our LOIs. We have our personality driven LOI templates and we go to LinkedIn and we can send them as an in-mail if you have LinkedIn Premium, or we go to LinkedIn and we just find the person. Who is that person? Is it, you need to look for the content marketing manager, the content director, the marketing manager, the VP of marketing, or sometimes the CEO, depending on how many people they have in marketing. Ideally, it's content marketing manager, but sometimes they don't have that. So then we send them either our LOI via InMail on LinkedIn, or we use hunter.io. So hunter.io will help you find emails. All you need is the URL of the website, and it'll tell you the email convention, and then you can send that email to the whoever you found on LinkedIn. And that's what I did when I couldn't afford premium. I just sent them through email and used hunter.io to find emails. So that's our second one. All right, hold on a second. So that's our second one, is our marketing piece. So we set up our business. Now we actually have to get our client, right? We actually have to market to get the client. Now the LinkedIn should help us because people should be able to start finding it more frequently, but we also have to keep the train going, right? So I always kind of give this analogy of trains. Oh, hold on. Ready? 1, 2, 3, dot. Oh, buddy. Hold on. There you go. There you go. So I always give this analogy about trains. So trains need about 2 to 3 miles to get up to speed. That's what we're doing here. So trains take 2 to 3 miles to get up to speed, and then they take 2 to 3 miles to slow down. So as you're getting up to speed, you're sending your marketing, you're shoveling the coal. Once the business is going, once you have clients, once you have money coming in, then we're kind of like, cool, we can kind of ride it for a bit, right? Because it takes 2 to 3 miles to slow that thing down. We always need to be marketing, but we don't always have to be marketing at such a high level of 50 to 75 a month. But you have to start the train. You got to start doing those 50 to 75 LOIs a month and shoveling the coal. Yes, hello? Would you like to say hello to everybody? Come here. Let's say hello. Oh. Okay, goodbye. She's like, no, I don't want you to pick me up. All right, so that's number 2. And this is my fast stuff. So I'm going through this pretty quickly because I want to make sure we have all the value-packed stuff in here. If you feel like this has been helpful so far, give it a thumbs up. If you feel like you want to learn more about building a high-earning freelance writing business, subscribe. I can't remember which side the button's on, but subscribe. Let's talk about number 3 here. So let's talk about how freelance writing clients think and then how to attract the right clients. This goes back to our copy on our LinkedIn, on our website, and understanding what they need. So one of the things that I think is really helpful is to look at what your ideal clients are talking about. So that means if you pick your niche as biotech or robotics or cybersecurity or fintech, SaaS, health, whatever, you read through a bunch of other websites of those companies. Go look at hospitals, go look at fintech companies, go look at mortgage tech companies, and see what they're talking about in terms of struggles. Like, what are their customers struggling with? And look at their website. Are they struggling to be consistent with blog posts? Are they struggling to be consistent with white papers, case studies? Have you noticed that they're not getting a lot of likes and shares on their stuff on LinkedIn? Does it look like their email list isn't growing because they're not actually asking people to join the email list to get the downloadable, right? Look at all of those different things and try to figure that out. So that's part of the research process. Like, how do they think? Really, what your clients are struggling with is connecting with their audience, and content is the glue that connects them with their audience, right? So your clients oftentimes struggle to either be consistent, to understand their audience, or to meet their audience's needs where they're at. They're like, we heard we need blog posts, but really the thing that converts for them, the thing that gets subscribers, likes, shares, downloads, sales is case studies, because that audience needs to see themselves in somebody else using that thing, but they just don't know that. So your job is to go do research on your bunch of niches. Like, what are they struggling with? What are some things that are going wrong? And this will evolve over time. Take your best guess. This is something that a lot of first-time freelancers get stuck in because they're like, I have no idea. Go read about it. Go research and do the best you can. You have to do the best you can where you're at. That's it. And then the bonus point here is to go and look at other writers' websites in your niches. This helped me a ton to understand what was actually going on. So I went and looked at travel writers and food writers and health tech and insure tech and people who did content strategy and people who wrote a lot of blog posts and people who were in SaaS. Like, I looked at their websites and I was like, oh, it seems like they really struggle with this, or they really struggle with that, or they are looking for clients who need ABC. Then I start formulating my own ideas of how I can help with that. That's the important piece. So get examples, do some research, and then you can see, like, what are your clients thinking? What do your ideal clients really struggle with? What are their pain points? And this is something that I go really in depth with my students in my Freelance Writer Wealth Lab course. I give them like pages of stuff saying, like, here's all the pain points. Here's all the possible things your clients could struggle with. Talk about any of them. Here's all these possible niches that you can consider. So for me in the course, I just feel like we have to do a deep dive. But if you're just starting out and you're kind of scratching the surface and you're like, I have no idea, use the basic approach of research. Research your clients, research what they're talking about, research what types of content they're putting out, and then research other writers in your niches. Don't pull direct phrases. As writers, don't plagiarize, but I have got to say this anyways. Don't pull direct phrases from those other writers' websites. Use that as reference material of what you may need to talk about, and then use your own words to talk about that. So, like, don't look at my website and then pull a bunch of stuff from it and be like, this is perfect. It won't sound like you, and then you'll attract the wrong clients. You got to have stuff that sounds like you. So that means when you do your research, you write down a bunch of basically like the facts and figures kind of stuff. Like, what do they need help with? What are their pain points? What do they struggle with? What are the things that you specifically can help with? What makes you unique? Then you kind of mush all that together and make your own recipe. So that's number 3. All right. I'm going to speed up a little bit because we're like going to be over time. The button is on my left, like this left or this, like my left hand or like my right hand, because this is my right hand and it's backwards on my monitor. So this is like one of my weaknesses. Is I'm not very good with directions sometimes. Like, yeah. So I'm good with like map directions, but not directions like when I'm on camera. Okay. So when we're figuring out our right clients, remember that this is going to change over time. So when you create all these things, when you do your research on your clients and you're doing your marketing and you're poking things around, this is just your starting point. Don't stress out that you're going to be, like I said, handcuffed to this forever. It's not forever. It's just for now. It's just to get your first client. It's just to get the ball rolling and to get people in the door. Oh, my left hand. Okay, so this one. Subscribe. All right. Here you go, buddy. Ready? 1, 2, 3, dog. Oh, buddy, you just pop that over to her. Hi, Bean. Hi, Bean. Good job. All right. So, let's talk about getting your first client, and then let's talk about when you get a yes on a project. So let's talk about those as 4 and 5. So 4. All right, number 4 here. Here's the deal. Getting your first client is a numbers game. So let's talk about this. Sometimes people are really lucky when they start freelance writing in that they already have a network. So I know several writers who have already had a network where they can say like, hey, I'm a freelance writer now. If you know anyone who needs help, I'm here. And then they get a bunch of work because they've built connections for the last 10, 15, 20 years. And they're like, cool, now that I've got all this work. So that's some people. On the other side of the spectrum, I know people, and like burn this story into your brain as a new freelance writer. I know people who got their very first clips. They had no freelance writing experience. Their very first clips in the New York Times, the Washington Post, Travel and Leisure, all of the biggest publications. I know people who have gotten their very first clip in there. They didn't have anything else, okay? So there are people who start, where are you going? You can't go over, get out of there. No, Charlotte, get out of the camera. Oh my gosh. So burn that story in your brain. What are you doing? We've got a pork on the move. Here you go, pork. Here you go. Here. Oh my gosh. Okay. So the deal is that you can be on a bunch of different sides of the spectrum of getting clients. So don't sweat about what somebody else is doing or what somebody else has that you don't. I started with 71 connections on LinkedIn and now I have 4,000. It's just part of learning the process. So getting your first client oftentimes is a numbers game. And there's a couple ways to kind of not cheat the system, but get it quicker. So number 1, I think one of the best ways to get your first client and get paid and get a clip is to go to trade magazines. And in my bundle, I have my LOI that I send to trade magazines. So it's an LOI pitch hybrid. So you put your LOI in there and you put some headlines. And I think this is the best way to get a clip because if you send ideas, you can get an idea picked up. When you send an LOI to a business, you don't know what's going on there, and the business can be a long time. It can take a while for them to get back to you. It can take a bit for them to like onboard you. And with a pitch, although the paid part comes in later, like trade magazines can be net 30, net 45, pay on publication. At least if your stuff is published and you have a clip to work with, you have a clip. And ideas getting accepted by a trade magazine or a news magazine is at least some way to get a clip, usually quicker than a business, in my opinion. The paid part, different story. You usually get paid faster by a business than a magazine, but at least if you're getting clips and you're trying to get your first client, sending ideas, sending pitches, sending pitch LOI hybrids to trade magazines, that's a good way to go. You need to intertwine that with sending LOIs to businesses, right? So getting your first client is a numbers game. Like I said, either you have a network or you don't. It doesn't matter. You still have to send those LOIs. So my friends who have started with big networks, they still sent lots of LOIs, but they also had the benefit of being able to connect with people on LinkedIn and say like, I'm a freelance writer. But the people who started out and just sent some pitches to big magazines and got accepted, now they have this big juicy clip that everyone's like, that's so fancy. You have to kind of do those things together. You have to send those LOIs and those pitches, and eventually you will get a client. It is always a numbers game. And the cycle is different for everybody, but everybody eventually hits different parts of the cycle. So even if you start out with no clients and it takes you a while, like 3-6 months to get your first client, like let's say you're still working your full-time job and you takes you 3 to 6 months to get any type of client, that's part of your process. Some people immediately start out with clients as a freelance writer, and oftentimes that's because they leave their employer and their previous employer hires them to do their part of their work, right? Hi, Grumpy. Hi, Grumpy. Go back to your hovel. So sometimes that's what ends up happening is they get hired as their, they get hired to do part of their job that they just left. That's just part of it. And eventually everybody gets to a point where they have to do a bunch of marketing. I don't know any writer who has their entire career handed to them. I don't know any writer who has spent their whole career just getting inbound leads, or magically their network always pays off, or they're always having editors come to them. Everybody has to do the marketing. There is no way to escape it. And think of it this way, the better you do your marketing and the more marketing you do, the choosier you get to be about your clients, the choosier you get to be about who you say yes to, what your prices are, what type of work you're working on. That's the benefit. It's not that you're going to be spending all this time getting no answers, which if you are getting no answers, definitely get the template. But the deal is that everybody gets there. If it's not immediate, it happens at some point. So don't compare somebody getting their New York Times clip or somebody getting this thing or somebody not doing as much marketing as you. Like, everybody has to do the marketing, everybody. So let's do the marketing. And then the last thing that we want to talk about is, and the last thing I want to say about getting your first client is, this is a really exciting moment. So make sure you celebrate. Getting your first client is a big deal. Even if you've been a writer, like I have gotten messages from people who have been freelance writers for 25, 30 years. And they were like, I finally got my first high paid gig. I've been stuck at 40K for like 20 years and I finally got my first high paid gig. You should celebrate that. If you're starting from square one, if you're starting from zero, which is, we all do that, getting your first client is a big deal. So make sure you celebrate that. That's super important. Last piece we're going to talk about here. If this has been helpful so far, give it a thumbs up. If you feel like you want to learn more about building a high earning freelance writing business, subscribe. All right, so last thing. So when you get a yes, so let's say you're doing your marketing. You look so cute, but why are you over here? When you're doing your marketing, you finally get a yes, right? You get a project, someone says yes to your pitch, you end up getting an article published, all that stuff. Like when you get a yes, oh, he's playing over there. Here you go. This is a big important thing. So when you finally get a yes on a project, make sure you put in all the things we've talked about so far, right? You have your contract, you have your invoice, you have your system set up so that you look super pro. Excuse me. They're like, yes, we want to work with you. And you're like, sounds good. Here's my proposal, my contract, and my upfront invoice, or however you decided to do invoicing with them. Magazines operate differently, but the deal is that we already have our stuff set up, right? And we already have things going. We connected Stripe, we connected PayPal, we've got our contract all ready to get our e-signature on HelloSign or DocuSign. We are putting everything in place. Like everything has already been put in place now that we put all our stuff together. It's easy to flow through that process and look like a pro. So getting a yes on a project, big thumbs up, big celebratory moment there. But what we need to do is make sure we have all of our stuff put in place, right? So while we're at step 5, we've already done everything. We've already figured out how to use Harvest or Dubsado if you want to be spicy. We know how to use HelloSign. We know how to use DocuSign. And then there's other things that come up, right? Sometimes when you get a project, they want you to sign an NDA. They want you to talk to AP, which is accounts payable. And this is totally normal. And sometimes they'll negotiate. Sometimes they'll negotiate your rate. Sometimes they'll negotiate your contract. Sometimes they'll negotiate the NDA. But here's a few quick flyby kind of pointers. Number 1, if you get an NDA and it says that NDA is forever, you need to go back and change that. I have found with the changes in technology and how things move, like how quickly they move, 1 year is ideal. 1 year for your NDA is ideal. 2 years is okay. It's in the ballpark of ideal. 5 years is the max. Like I think anything longer than 5 years, like with everything that's been changing and how fast apps and tech and industries change, like I think 5 years is the max. So check that NDA. If it says forever, you need to go back and say, can we change that to 1 year? And if they say no, like if they say no to 1 or 2 years, try for 5 years, but you need to change that. The other quick pointer is make sure that your contract talks about all the good stuff. That's why I push the bundle so much. Is the deal, it gives you a deal, it shows you the deal of the contract. Like it shows you how that works. So you have the scope of work, who owns the rights, the legal stuff, the payment stuff, all the things that you need, or like how long the contract lives. All that stuff is super important. So if they send you their contract, look at all that stuff. Does it have the scope of work? Does it have things in it that don't apply to you? Because sometimes they'll send you a contract that's for like general contractors. And I've had contracts that are for people who like do tile, like people who are like contracted to like fix the bathroom in the office. And they're like, this is our general contractor agreement. And I'm like, no. So if they send you a general agreement, it's totally fine to go back and say like, hey, can I send you my contract? Or, hey, this, these sections don't apply to me. Can you remove them? That's totally fine. If they don't send you a contract, don't stick your head in the sand. You need to say like, hey, let me send you my contract. This is something that I find with a lot of new freelance writers. They're like, oh, well, they just didn't say anything. Okay, well, that's your job now. It's your job to say we need a contract. That's really important. This is how a lot of freelance writers end up stuck or with problems, especially with payment when you don't have a contract. You need to have a contract that spells out what work you're doing, right? Get rid of scope creep because we have a contract. Make sure your payment terms are clear. Make sure all the rights are clear, right? All that stuff is super important. So you got to make sure you put all those things in place. Then you make sure that you get paid, right? You have your upfront invoice or you have your monthly invoice or you send an invoice when you finish the article, all that stuff. But when you get that client, all of these things will be in place. There was one other thing I wanted to say that I'm trying to remember. Let's do a pup date while I try to remember. All right, Charlotte, can you go back to your hobbit hole? Charlotte, can you go back to your hobbit hole? Ready, buddy? 1, 2, 3, dog. So close. All right, ready? High five. High five. Good girl. There you go. All right, Charlotte, down, down, down. Good job. Bo, you're laying on it, buddy. Did you find it? Okay, hold on. Hold on. Oh, we found it. We found it. We used our geriatric eyeballs and we did it. Ready? 1, 2, 3, dog. Good job. Good job. What was the last thing? Oh, I remember. High five. Other one. Can you sit up? You're like, no, not right now. Ready? 1, 2, 3, dog. It's right in front of you, buddy. There you go. Good job. That's what happens when you're 15 and a half. When you're 15 and a half, sometimes it's hard to find things. Last thing I want to say, while we're talking about getting your first client and doing all this stuff as beginners, is that everything is not a pressure cooker situation. It is okay to ask questions. If you are confused about something in the scope of work, in the contract, in the NDA, in whatever process, go back and ask the question. It doesn't make you look incompetent. It makes you look interested, curious, and like you want to do things right. Hey, I noticed that you had this in the NDA. Can you tell me why it's there? Or can you explain to me like how that applies to our work together? That's totally fine. Everything is negotiable. Everything you can ask questions. When I first started out, I thought that when you just immediately accept things, that just meant that you were like, I know it. It's fine. I accept it because I already know it. But that was a big mistake. You end up signing a bunch of stuff where you could have had it changed. Like you could go back and say like, hey, I noticed your payment terms are net 90. Can we change them to net 14? Or, can we change them to net 30 or something quicker? You could always ask questions. So don't be afraid to go back and ask. It doesn't make you look dumb. If anything, if you get a scope of work or you get a content brief and it's confusing, go ask. What you want to do is put the focus on doing the work right, getting things cleared up. You want to make sure everything is straightforward and easy to understand. So if you get something in there, go back and ask questions because you're like, hey, I want to do this right. I noticed in the content brief it says this. What does that mean? I don't get it. The deal is that you are invested enough in their content to go and ask questions. You're not just like, I don't give a shit. I'm going to write whatever and they'll just deal with it. No. The point is that you're asking questions so that you can create content that actually works, content that converts, content fitting their scope of work, content they care about, content that continues to give them value over the years. That's the point. When you don't ask questions and you just sign contracts or sign NDAs, or you just like agree to a content brief without understanding it, that's when writers get in trouble. That's when they end up doing things that are like the client is unhappy with the work, or you're like, well, I didn't ask questions because da 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 da, whatever reason it is. Like, you have to ask questions. And here's another last thing. So if you're asking questions and the person is like, you should just know this, or I'll know it when I see it, or like basically telling you you're dumb for asking questions, or like the fact that you're interested in trying to do good work or trying to clear things up, like that's a red flag. That's a big red light. That's not good. The deal is that someone should be working with you as if you're on a team. Oh yeah, I didn't even realize that was in your contract. Okay, let me go ask legal about it. Oh, well, I didn't even know our payment terms were net 90. Like, let me go see if AP is willing to, change that. There's always, like, you want people who understand that you're being a good business owner by asking, right? And they're on your side, right? They're working with you as a team. They're not like, you're a fucking idiot, you should know this. Or they're like, oh my God, it says what it says. How could you not understand this? Like, those are big problems. That's a big red light. So if you're trying to go back and ask questions or trying to understand the content brief and you're getting that kind of like really harsh negativity, or like you're dumb, or like you should already know this, or like you're a bad writer because you don't get it, that's red light behavior. That's not a good client. Good clients are there to support you, to help you. They understand it's a team effort to create this good content. They understand the better they get that the better you understand what you need to do, the better the content is. That's what they get. Or they understand that you are asking these questions because you want to have a fair contract. You want to get paid on time. You want to make sure the rights are allocated properly for the content. So don't be scared about that. I used to be scared about questions, and I used to be like, oh, maybe I am dumb by being gaslighted by this red light client. Like, find the good clients. Find the people who want to be on a team with you, who see your work as a partnership, who see the value in your content and see the value in creating that content for their audience. That stuff is all super important. So I hope this has been helpful. I don't see any questions that popped in here today. Last thing I'm going to talk about here is freelance writer. Yeah, I know. I have to hop because I have like my course students have a live Q&A in a few minutes. So here's the deal. Right now, I'm going to tell you about this. So my course is open right now for enrollment. It is open for enrollment. Freelance Writer Wealth Lab is my course. It's open for enrollment until April 21st at 4 p.m. Central, and it's not going to reopen until September. So if you want to go check it out and see what's in the course, go to mandyellis.com/enroll. For me, it has been like my passion project. And for example, I created this course and I was like, sweet, it's got all this stuff. And then my students were like, can you add this and this and this? So for example, our tech library of things that my students asked for has tripled. For me, the course is about giving you the framework and the blueprint to build a high earning freelance writing business, whether high earning to you is 6 figures or 50K or whatever number feels good. It's giving you the framework to build a business that's personalized to you. It's customized to where you want to go in your direction, the things that work for you. Hi, Bean. I hear you making noise. But the course is open until less than a week. So it'll be open for enrollment until 4/21. So April 21st at 4 p.m. Central. And if you have any questions, you can pop on that page. So if you go to mandyellis.com/enroll, there's a little box there where you can ask me a question and I'll send you a little video reply back. And it's actually me. It's not like pre-recorded. It's me sitting in my house making a video for you. So if you have any questions, you can pop there and ask them to me. And the course is comprehensive. So for me, it was really important to build something that not only helps you in your current stage, but helps you scale your business, like actually grow it beyond a certain point. And this is whether you want to work less hours and make more money, or whether you want a 6-figure business, or whether you want to have vacations or time off, or you need to like get the marketing done quicker, or you need to understand how to attract your ideal clients or get like 4- and 5-figure projects. That's what this course is about. It's about actually giving you a proven blueprint, a framework that I have used myself, my students have used to build their businesses to where they earn more in less time. They take those leaps and they like actually make big leaps in their business. And they actually get to take vacations and work less hours. So that's my little thing. Marie says, super workshop. I've doubled my business and I don't stress, and I have a game plan and support. Marie is one of my students. Vesno is one of my students. Let's see. Annie is one of my one-on-one students. Vicky has been here forever in the live in our live streams giving support. So thank you guys for hanging out. So yeah, the deal is that the course is all about kind of like getting rid of the overwhelm while helping you build things and making it reasonable, like actual doable tasks. So if you're interested in that, it's open for enrollment. It opens basically every year in April and September. So this April, it'll close on the 21st at 4 p.m. Central, and then it'll open back up in probably like early to mid-September. All right. Hi, Grumpy. Hi, Grumpy. All right, I got to hop for my live Q&A for my course students, but I hope that this was helpful. If you feel like you want to learn more about building a high-earning freelance writing business, subscribe. I give out some really gold star tips here. If you feel like this video was helpful, give it a thumbs up. And I'm here every Friday on the live stream, so I hope you can come hang out again. And I'll see you